Welcome back to Riley's Collection. I'm Riley, and today we're taking a look at the Marvel Legends Across the Spider-Verse Miles Morales figure. So there is plenty to talk about with this guy, but before we get into the aesthetics, I do want to address the packaging here. As you can see, it's on a retro card. Hasbro, I really hate how you've been taking all these Spider-Man waves and making them retro waves, even if it doesn't make sense to, simply so that you don't have to include a Build-A-Figure piece. I think that's absolutely shady. And like at this point, you know what you're doing. You're not giving enough accessories, you're not giving a Build-A-Figure piece, and you're still charging the same price for these guys. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. But with that said, let's hop into the aesthetics. As you can see, this Miles figure is sporting his usual black and red design, but this time we've also got some blue in the mix there. We've got some nice sculpted, like quilted patterning all over the arms and the legs and even on the face, which struck me as kind of odd. All the painted red line work on there looks really clean. I haven't spotted any imperfections of the paintwork thus far, so that is really solid work. There's some really tiny red lines, especially on that back spider there, that could have been really easy to mess up, and they did a fantastic job bringing those details out on the figure here. And just getting real close up on the figure here, we can see all those details, those nice big eyes. I really like that head sculpt a lot. But you can see all that quilted patterning on the costume there. On the face, it's got like this like brick pattern, which again, not really sure how I feel about that. And he's also got subtle texturing all over the parts that don't have the quilted patterning on them. So this dude is literally covered head to toe with sculpted detail, and it looks really good. You can also see there the figure is super thin, and when I say thin, I mean really thin, to the point where when you start articulating some of the joints, it bends on like some of those thinner leg parts and arm parts, which we'll talk about a little bit more in depth later on during the articulation segment. But yeah, overall he's just really thin. I also would like to point out the serial number on the thigh. Hasbro, I really wish you wouldn't do that. Just put it on the bottom of the foot. It really sucks when it's on the inner thigh there and just super visible on the figure. But overall, I think this guy really does resemble how Miles looks in the Across the Spider-Verse movie, at least from what we see in the trailers. And I think the paint and detail on this guy are just spot on, very nicely done. And it's really just such a pleasant surprise to see such good paint and detail work on a Hasbro Marvel Legends. So I'd like to direct your attention to the accessories, and as you can see here, I've got all of Miles' accessories laid out on the rotating base here, and you really don't get much. You just get a set of flipping hands, you've got fists that come on the figure out of the box, and then you do get your unmasked head. And yeah, I mean, the hands are just pretty standard fare. They're painted nicely just like the other hands, so that's fine. And then the Miles head does look really good. I really do like that Miles head sculpt there. He does look a tad bit surprised. You might like that, you might not, but ultimately I think it does look really accurate to the film, and I think that's a really nice addition to have here with this guy. This figure, much like many other upcoming and previously released Marvel Legends, need more accessories. You're paying 25 bucks for this guy. He's already a relatively small and thin figure, and then you get one extra set of hands and an unmasked head for 25 bucks. I think we can do better. All right, so now let's talk about this guy's articulation. So the head is on a disc hinge, so your up and down range is probably going to be really good here, so he can look up about that much. So he looks all the way up there, so that's really good. And he does look all the way down as well. Just be careful, you can really easily just pop that off the peg. At the arm, it does move up about 90 degrees. It does move 360 all the way around. You do have your bicep swivel here, which feels really flimsy, I'm not gonna lie, so I would say be very careful with this. It definitely seems like it could really easily break. Like you can kind of see it wobbling there. Just not very secure on there. Double jointed elbow that does move all the way in, so that's great range there. And then at the wrist, you do get a swivel and a hinge back and forth. At the torso, you do have an ab crunch that moves forward about this far and makes it look like his back is entirely broken, and then it moves back about that far and does pretty much the same thing. This guy is really thin, so when you articulate him there, it just breaks up really badly. I think if they moved that ab crunch down to where the waist is, it would look a lot better when you moved it like that, and then just giving him like a diaphragm joint. I think that would have been a much better setup for this guy, but that's not what they did. He does have a waist cut, so that moves all the way around, and it feels like ratcheted. Then at the hips, the leg does move up further than 90 degrees there, so that is pretty good. It does move out about that far, so you get pretty close to the splits, so that's not too bad. At the knee, you do get a double jointed knee, and that bends all the way in, working very well. The foot does move up about that much, but the leg really wants to like bend and warp when you try to move that ankle joint there, so that's not too great. Be careful with that as well. And then going back, it wants to do the same thing, and like, see that? It just wants to warp. That's not really good, but it does move back about that much, and then you do get your famous Marvel Legends ankle rocker from side to side, and that works perfectly fine. So articulation with this guy is fairly decent, fairly good stuff here. There's nothing really bad. He's not really lacking anything. There's definitely stuff that could be done better, but overall, I think this is a very good setup here for your average Marvel Legends. For some scale comparisons here, we do have the Marvel Legends Into the Spider-Verse Gwen Stacy on the right, and on the left we do have the Marvel Legends Into the Spider-Verse Prowler figure. And all of these guys are from the same franchise, so of course they look really good together. It always makes me super happy to add more figures to my Spider-Verse collection. And fun fact, I actually didn't have a Miles before this from Into the Spider-Verse, so now I finally have the main character in my Into the Spider-Verse display. And to compare him with some imports here, we have on the right the SH Figuarts Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and on the left the Sentinel Peter B. Parker. And I really do like what we got going on with the Peter B and the Miles here. They look fantastic together. I love that. And obviously Toby is a totally different style. He's from the live action end of things, while these two guys are animated. But I just love getting all my Spider-Man together, doing really fun crossover pictures and things like that. And finally, here he is next to the Mezco Spider-Man 2099. And yeah, he kind of towers over Miles, but I definitely think it could work because Miles is supposed to be kind of a younger character. Miguel O'Hara is kind of an older character there. So you could probably get that to work. And we do know that Spider-Man 2099 Miguel O'Hara is going to be in Across the Spider-Verse. And there is a figure for him that did release in the same wave as this Miles, and I do have it on the way, so we will be covering that, so stay tuned. So what's the verdict on this Marvel Legends Miles Morales? This is definitely a little bit of an interesting one. I think you're really either gonna love it or hate it. If you like Into the Spider-Verse, if you're excited for Across the Spider-Verse, you're probably gonna want to pick this up, and I think you're probably gonna like it. It has a good amount of articulation for a Marvel Legends. That ab crunch does look really ugly, but outside of that, the rest of the articulation works absolutely fine. I also do really like all the sculpted detail we get on this guy. I like that it's a fully new body for this figure. I like that the paintwork is really good and that there's a lot of it. And I do really like the unmasked head sculpt, although I do think that we should be getting more accessories. But all things considered, I think this is a pretty decent release. Do I think this is worth the pickup? Well, if you're on the fence about it, I'd say, yeah, just pick it up, especially if you already have a bunch of Spider-Verse figures, because like I said, adding more characters to that roster is just so much fun. And that in and of itself is probably going to be worth it for you. But with all that said, guys, I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, please hit that like button. It really does help this channel out. And if you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, because subscribing to this channel gives you lifetime virtual access to my collection. And I don't know about you, but that sounds like a pretty good deal to me. All right, guys, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.